So we're doing, or finishing up, excuse me, I didn't mean to do that. Finishing up 28. So we talked about the Last Supper, that they're in the upper room, and Jesus uh, is there with them, and then it comes to uh, Jesus starts washing the feet of his disciples, and they're shocked. I told you that this is the only place in all of ancient literature that we see someone who is more important washing the feet of someone who is less important. In fact, it was so menial, it was so demeaning that only a slave could do it, and in some places, only a Gentile slave could do it, so the lowest of the low. Uh, and and so he's washing their feet. He washes Judas' feet, Judas's feet, knowing what he was about to do. And he shows his humility here in doing that. And I told you yesterday that it's literally unheard of. There's no place in all of ancient literature that records anything like this. So, and we also see his heart. That was his humility. And then we see Christ's heart in this. He's broken and compassionate toward Judas. Judas is going to betray him. Now he knows what's going to happen, and he knew from the beginning that he was going to a cross. He also knew he was going to rise again. He also knew who his betrayer would be, but he had a heart of compassion even toward Judas. After saying these things, Jesus was troubled in his spirit and testified, "Truly, truly, I say to you, one of you will betray me." And it was interesting because when he said that, the disciples all said, "Is it me? Is it me? Is it me?" Which I find interesting. You would think that you would know if you were capable of doing that or not. But all of them were afraid that they would be the one to betray Jesus. And they they didn't know. Um, so um, and he even lets Judas know that he knows. Jesus does. He says to him, "What you are about to do it quickly." And the disciples were clueless about that, but he goes out into the night to betray Jesus. Um, Yeah, he's broken and compassionate toward Judas. In fact, he honors Judas by giving him the sop. So he took the sop and he gave it to Judas, knowing that Judas was his betrayer. So he was being kind to someone who was not kind to him. Um, when I was raising my kids, my favorite book on raising children was called Shepherding a Child's Heart. And one of the things that they said in there, that no behavior comes forth uncaused. There's always a cause. And if you don't get to that cause, you'll never correct what happened. And Jesus knew his heart. And we as parents can't always know the heart, but um, but his betrayal uh, and his greed was the cause. Um, so we're to love our enemies, and that's a hard thing to do. And we don't want to love our enemies, but that's what we have been called to do. I think you know that I go every year to a camp that is for children that have been abused and neglected. And if I could tell you their stories, they would make you cry. They have been through more horrible things than I can even imagine. And this is year 20 for me, by the way. And I found myself getting angry, especially when I met this little girl, Alicia, who was, well, let's put it this way. When you're at camp, uh, pretty much most of the time, you would look at that camper and say that's a typical kid. But then something happens, and then you realize, oh, that's why this camper never acted like a typical child because she had been so horribly abused, and I found myself getting angry, especially at her father. And uh, and then I realized years later when I found out that two campers that I had known as little boys had grown up and were in prison for rape. And I love those boys. I still love those boys. And that's when I realized that behind every sad story is another sad story. And we need to be compassionate even to those who mistreat us. And no behavior comes out uncaused. Um, so we are to love everyone, no matter what, no matter what they've done, no matter what you've done. We're to love them, love everyone. And Jesus loved Judas, and as I said, gave him the sop, which was honoring him. I don't know. Um, I'm pretty sure I couldn't do that. I don't think many people could, but Jesus did. Uh, so then we get to Peter, and Peter's like, "Nope, nope, nope. You're not going to wash my feet." And it's because it was demeaning to wash feet. And here's his teacher uh, and Savior wanting to wash his feet, and he changes his tune when Jesus says, "Well, if you're not going to let me wash your feet, you have no part in me." And then he goes the other way around, and he goes, "Then give me a whole bath, give me, you know, cleanse all of me." And Jesus, I think, probably chuckled and said, "No, you just need your feet. Everything else you've already is already clean." And I love Peter. Peter is my favorite disciple because he has foot and mouth disease. He opens his mouth and says something, and then goes, "I probably shouldn't have said that." And that's me. That happens to me all the time. And you can't have as many words to say as I do every day in this place without saying something you would like to take back. But uh, he was uh, not always um, so unwise. He became more wise. Um, so this his first rash statement. Uh, you will never wash my feet, he says to Jesus. And then, well, then, and Jesus says, "No, well, then you have no part of me." Okay, then give me, give wash all of me. not only my feet, but everything else. And he said, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. And Jesus said, no, you don't. You don't understand. You're fine. You just have to take a bath. And you're fine. So Peter. So now he says, I'll lay down my life. He's here. He's professing more than he can actually do. He says to Jesus, I would lay my life down for you. And Jesus says, will you? Would you, Peter? Because this very night, before the sun rises, you're going to deny me 3 times. And I know he thought, no, I couldn't do that. I would never do that. We're all not much different. We often profess more faith than we actually live. But Peter is going to deny Jesus. But he's also going to be one of the most pivotal people in all of history in helping people come to know Christ. So yeah, he had more zeal than knowledge at that point, but that would change. So then we'll talk about the disciples' insecurity. The disciples looked at one another, uncertain of whom he spoke. So he said, one of you is going to betray me. And they're like, is it me? Is it me? Is it me? You would think you would know if that was in your heart. But they were all worried it would be them. I'm pretty sure Judas knew because he'd already been conferring with the Jewish leadership. But they were doubting. They were doubting their strength for Christ. And that's why they were saying, is it me? And I guess they thought that could happen. But I think you would know if that's in your heart. And if we love Jesus, it should show in our life. It's not going to show. It's not going to show perfectly. None of us is perfect, right? But day after day, we should be growing closer to Christ. Year after year, we should be growing closer to Christ. And if we love Him, I mean, if we profess to love Him, we should want to be with Him. I can't imagine being in a marriage and saying, yeah, I love you. I just don't want to see you or talk to you. That doesn't make any sense. And I believe that if you love Jesus, it will show. It will show. Never perfectly. But we'll want to be where Jesus is. We'll want to know Jesus. So then the disciples' ignorance. Jesus talked of being glorified soon. And he's talking about his resurrection and ascension and also his crucifixion. It was a horrible scene, but it was part of his glorification. And then he talked about the need for the disciples to love one another. Love one another. Just as I have loved you, you are to love one another. And the disciples misunderstand yet again. And they completely ignored what he said because he said, I'm going away. And the curriculum is pretty harsh on Peter here. But they completely ignored his statements about loving one another and wondered if he was going, if and where he was going, that they could not follow him. And Peter then asked this foolish question, why can I not follow you? I'm going to follow you no matter what. And he's totally ignorant about what's about to happen. But of course he was, because he didn't get it yet. But he will. So all of the disciples proclaimed that they loved the Lord, but before the night was over, all but one would forsake him, would run away. One would betray him. One would deny him 3 times. And 9 would run away in fear. Only John was at the foot of the cross. All the others were in hiding. Now, I've told you the curriculum is pretty harsh on Peter, so I'm not going to be that hard on Peter and the other disciples. They had no framework to understand a dying Messiah. Messiah was supposed to come and conquer and live forever. There are clues that Messiah would suffer in the Old Testament, but they didn't understand that either. They thought that Jesus was going to restore the kingdom of Israel right away. He was going to vanquish the Romans. Why would he leave them? And why couldn't they go with him? It was very troubling to them, and they didn't understand. Truthfully, they couldn't understand. Yeah. So I'm going to end this lecture, and we'll go on to the next one, but I want you to ponder this question. Are you willing to follow Jesus no matter the cost? Am I willing to follow Jesus no matter the cost? I think that's a good thing to ponder.